Welcome back, y'all. This is me and Pops Unplugged. Once again, we hope you guys enjoyed your Easter break. I know I did. Chilling with the family, had some good ass food, and we appreciate you guys tuning in once again. So, Pops, we're just going to jump right into this real quick. So, this one is a topic I know everyone's going to resonate with, including myself. I know Pops has been there as well. So, ultimately, it's why people stay in the wrong relationships, especially when they know it's not right for them. So this is a big one, especially for me personally. So really where we want to start here is you know what's wrong, right? At least the majority of people know it's wrong. So why do people stay? That's the big one. Pop, start it off for us.
Well, I mean, first of all, I believe most people, we talked about it before, are in the wrong relationship, you know, and I get it because nobody wants to be alone. Everybody wants to have somebody, loneliness. I know it's something that I always struggle with, but loneliness is tough. And I feel like most people, if you want to be honest, they're just with people just because they don't want to be lonely. And that's really, when you think about it, that's really not, the reason to be in a relationship. Like if you're lonely, my thoughts are, get a dog, get a friend, be active, distract your mind in
Right.
other ways,
You need
occupy your mind
companionship.
in other ways. But
Yeah.
you shouldn't be with somebody just because you're lonely and play with people's emotions, because now this other person is invested emotionally, and if you're not in it for the right reasons, it's definitely not going to work out. So what's the whole point? But I get it. Like I said, I struggled with loneliness. That was, a really big thing, even in my childhood. And, recently when I first started to turn my life around, you want everything yesterday. You want the relationship, you want the car, you want the finances, you want all this stuff to work out. But, things take time. Anything worth having, requires work and investment. And, people, I just feel like they want immediate satisfaction, they immediate gratification. So, just out of those factors, that's most people. Again, I feel they're with the wrong person just because it's like they're okay for right now. It's just like, something to fill that void. What's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts, I mean, I agree in certain aspects that you were talking about, but yeah, I mean, if you're just lonely, that's definitely not a good enough reason to jump into a relationship. And I mean, even for me personally, like the past, what I want to say 6, 7 months, it has been lonely. Like there's times I'm like, you know what, this sucks. Like, do I wish I had somebody? Of course. But on the flip side, I know I'm locked in and just, focused on what I got to do right now, rebuilding my situation, stacking money, making sure I'm, in the gym, meal prepping. And, there's another thing too. Like I'm really focused on being the best version of myself. And when I do meet that amazing person, I'm like, holy shit, blown away. I want to make sure I show up not only for myself every day, the best version, but for them as well. So, me knowing in the back of my mind, like I'm falling short in specific areas, I know I still have a little bit more work to do before I truly try and like pursue somebody like that,
I,
So it's
my thoughts on
accountability.
that. I completely agree. And we might be jumping ahead here, but you know, people really, or how ready are they for, if they do meet that right person? Uh, As I said earlier, I believe that most people that are in relationships, and again, I'm just saying, I don't know what the statistical, obviously there is no statistical number, but I feel like, you know, there are a lot of healthy relationships, but when you look
Of
at the
course.
majority, like most of the relationships I see are unhealthy. So it would lead me to believe that there's more unhealthy relationships than healthy relationships. And that being said, again, like, why are those relationships unhealthy? Because just like you said, that person is not in the right place, whether it be, emotionally, financially, mentally, ready to take that on. Do they show up as the best version of themselves? And if you don't, how could you really serve the relationship the proper way and have the healthiest relationship if you're not showing up as the best version of yourself? So I absolutely agree with that.
100%. And there's another thing too, like even the comfort over growth aspect. Like people will be like, oh, well, I've been with this person for a year or 2 years or 3 years. Like, might as well stick it out and just try and see if we can make it something even better. Like, that's the wrong mentality either. Like time put in, and even with friendships or any kind of relationship, like the time put in does not reflect the quality of the relationship. The quality of the relationship is the quality. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter about the amount of time invested. And I feel like, logically thinking, you would think the longer you have with somebody, the better it would be. But, that's not always the case. And this goes to, a multitude of different kinds of relationships that people have throughout their life too. So that's something I feel like jams people up. It's a logical way of thinking, but it doesn't always end up being the end result that people want. And then, just the comfort standpoint too, like, that familiarity with somebody, especially if you have time put in, like you get too comfortable. And, I've had experiences like that. You're with somebody for 3, 4, 5 years. Um, you get complacent and there's not really an incentive to grow as an individual, assuming once again, this is not healthy. I don't even want to say toxic because it doesn't necessarily have to be toxic, but you're just not pushing each other and making each other better,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, I completely agree. And again, it's not just a romantic relationship, it's any relationship. Um, it's funny that you say that too, because it just made me think of just my own circumstances where, you know, most of the people, the closest people in my life are all people that I've met in the last, say, three years or so,
Exactly.
because as you know, and people that may follow us know, I kind of started my journey of changing my life around like maybe 4 years ago, had some setbacks. And, like the last 3 years, life has been, has just gotten better and better for me. And the best relationships I have, other than, a few family members, are all people I've met in the last 3 years. Like even my relationship, me and Angela are going on like 2 years. And some of my best friends are all people that I met along the way of this journey. So I completely agree. It doesn't, time means nothing. And as you know, I was in a relationship prior to me starting the journey of changing my life around. We were together for like 15 years. And it got to the point where like I knew it wasn't the right relationship anymore, but that factor of comfortability and it's like a codependency kept me
Yeah.
there. And even when I knew like that she did, certain things and, was moving funny and, to be 100% transparent, went to jail and she started messing with somebody else. And I came back, gave her another chance, went to jail again. She did the same thing. Now, mind you, I kept going to jail, which I get at that point. But, you know, I'm the one who kept allowing this to happen and taking her back. So what incentive does she have? Like, oh, well, he's away. I could just do whatever I want. And, he's going to get out and forgive me. But that was really due to the fact that, I wasn't in the right place in my life, whether it be mentally, emotionally, financially, all of them, because I wasn't, I was a mess in all of those areas.
Right.
But again, I stayed for years when I saw the signs, I saw it coming. And, I just told myself and made excuses like, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to change. And I knew it wasn't going to change deep down. I guess I just didn't want to admit it. And then maybe that's a bigger issue is the, people that are in that situation, they kind of know that it's not going to get better, but yet they'll justify and make excuses and tell themselves, lie to themselves, really, that oh, it's going to get different, it's going to change, it's going to be. But if again, that's being in the right relationship. Because if you're in the right relationship, yes, I'm not saying because marriages, whether it be marriage or just a relationship or even a friendship, like if two people really care about it and are invested in it, they're willing to work on it, then I wouldn't say, yeah, just walk away and quit, whatever relationship dynamic it is to quit. But if both people aren't invested fully in working towards getting better, then yeah, like that's delusional to stay.
Well,
So
it's insanity. It's doing the same shit over and over again and expecting different results. And earlier, like I don't mean to laugh, but I know you see it now in hindsight, like how crazy some of the situations we find ourselves in. And we don't
Yeah.
even see it in, the present moment, but always looking back, we're like, dude, how the fuck did I allow that to go on for so long?
Yeah, I mean, I'm embarrassed a lot of the times of things, not just in my romantic relationship that I talked about for the almost 15 years, but from, many different relationships, not just romantic, that things that I allowed myself to stay in that, now I look back and I'm like, what was wrong with you? Like, what the, but then again, as I said, I wasn't in the right place with myself, so it makes sense. But when I look back, I'm like, what an idiot I was. But it's
Yeah, I
normal.
mean,
I mean,
look,
we
we could
make
be our own worst critics sometimes. So I do
yeah,
the same shit.
like you said, we get in the point of comfortability, and maybe you're not in the right place in your own life, and you're not working, towards becoming your best self. So you make justifications, we make excuses and stuff like that, and then we got to live with the results, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, I mean, it comes that point where, and I made this mistake too. Like I'll speak on what I've been through. Like there was a few relationships that I pursued, and I knew it wasn't the right time. Despite some of the good qualities they may have had, like, oh, she's beautiful. Hey, she's really smart. Went to school, whatever it is. I knew deep down, and this is for years, that I wasn't where I wanted to be. And it was a form of denial and really just distracting myself, like from putting in the work ultimately. And, the only way you come to that realization is taking a look in the fucking mirror. I mean, it's you versus you at the end of the day. It's like, okay, well, despite all their good qualities and maybe they're a great person, it doesn't mean shit if I'm not able to get to a level where I want to be, because then I'm feeling like I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough, even though I am. But this is a story I tell myself too. So it's accountability thing, but also, I feel like a lot of people end up just being with people because they don't want to put in the work themselves. And it's a nice little distraction to get away from the work that they should be putting in. And that's some
Yeah.
real shit.
Well, 100% I agree. And two things I want to touch on that you said. Number one, um, like you said, were you in a position? And that kind of makes me think of, people want to, we all want not to be lonely. You want to have the perfect partner and all, but the whole goal is, you're going into a union, especially in a romantic relationship. You're going into a partnership where and what the goal should be, in my opinion anyway, is, to make each other better. We all have flaws, is to help each other to become the best version of ourselves, so that we
Of
make this
course.
partnership as ideal as possible. And, but in order to do that, I feel, do you show up as your best version of yourself? And we talked about this before where you see a lot of people out here, and I think you can attest that you and me were both one of them at one point. So, did we, when we wanted these things years ago, and, I'm just speaking for myself, like when I went through the loneliness period after I started getting my life together, I wanted the relationship, but was I ready? Like at one point, I had a job, but I didn't make the kind of money I want. So I wasn't, financially where I wanted to be. At one point, I didn't have a car. I was living in, a halfway house and had moved up to the top floor where, I had my own room and I could come and go as I please, but I didn't have my own place. So it's like, are you really in the position where you're ready to start a relationship and a union with somebody when you're not in the best, you're not showing up as the best version of yourself? So I feel like, and you and I have had these conversations where we have to get ourselves to a point where financially you could be proud and show up like, hey, I got this job. And it doesn't have to be the greatest job, but it's like an
No,
honest living. You make decent money where you could contribute. I've done work on myself, emotionally and, through different, worked on different traumas that you went through where, hey, I'm not going to show up as a toxic version of myself. And then, hey, I have, a place that we can go and spend time, all these different things. Like a lot of people want these things, but have no job, have no car, have no place. They're emotionally, a mess and have all this, baggage from other toxic relationships. How can somebody, and again, this is no shade on anybody because I was once, this is speaking on my old self where I wasn't ready to be in a relationship, but yet I wanted a relationship. And I feel like that's the delusion that so many people show up like I want to have somebody. But yeah, but you're not where you need to be. Get yourself to a certain point so that you can, show up as the best version of yourself. Now, of course, you're never going to be the best version. You should be striving constantly to be better, but like show up as a version that's, acceptable, that hey, I'm ready to go into a relationship. I've got myself, I've done work on myself, in all these areas, financially, emotionally, mentally, I have things to show for myself. Like I could show up and there, I bring value, I bring something to the table. And I feel like a lot of people, because society is just so crazy right now, like people expect to have this amazing relationship, but have no job, no car, no house. They're emotionally screwed up. Like
Yeah, it's like how
it's
the fuck, and we're going to talk about this later on in the episode too. But before we even jump into that, I want to talk about the manipulation aspect that happens with a lot of people, and this goes both ways. So I don't want y'all to get this twisted, like this is exclusively for one gender or another. Both men and women manipulate, and I've been manipulated as well. Um, have I done the manipulating sometimes for self interest because I was immature at a certain point in my life? Absolutely. Like I can take enough accountability and be like, yeah, I was the manipulator. But that's how you grow, man. You go through these experiences and then you just reach a certain point. It's like, man, I'm just trying to show up authentic. Like, hey, look, if this ain't for you, that's cool. But I'm gonna keep it pushing regardless. Like you were just saying, I put in enough work, and the evidence is there with myself. Like regardless of the outcome or whatever happens, you know, um, with a partner, like I'm still good. And I mean, falling for the manipulation shit, it was just crazy, man. Like without naming names of it, I'm gonna give you an example from my life, right? So a couple years back, there was this woman. Um, you know, she came across like damn near perfect, real sweet, real feminine, saying all the right things. She presented herself as a catch, so to speak, to keep it very short and simple. A couple months in, everything's cool, as it always is in the beginning. And then lo and behold, month 6, month 7, month 8 rolls around, and she starts to almost kind of telling herself, like, for example, we had the conversation early on about children and stuff like that, right? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm open to it, like in the very beginning. But now it's a changed tune. Month 8, month 9, now she's saying, oh, I ain't never going to have this. I ain't never going to have that. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Because when we first got together, you said, hey, this is like a thing. You're open to it. Now all of a sudden, your tune is changing a little bit. So, that's confusing. Ultimately, fast forward, that relationship did not work out. But it's funny how people manipulate like that. And like where I'm at now, it's not even about manipulate. What the fuck I'm going to manipulate you for? Like I'm trying to just show up authentically myself. And if this is a good thing, it's a good thing. If it's not, it's not. Like my philosophy now is short, sweet, to the point. It doesn't benefit me at all to show up authentic. At least that's what I'm trying to do. And me sit here and do a bunch of extra shit in order for you to like me. It doesn't make sense. What are your opinions on that, Pop?
Well, I mean, of course, like you said, everybody manipulates on both sides. But I feel a lot of it comes down to trauma. Like I feel a lot of the topics that we talk about comes down to trauma. Once you work on yourself and do a lot of internal work and you get to a place where you're at peace and you're comfortable, and you're healing, then you're able to show up as your authentic self.
Right.
And I feel like it really comes down to what you were saying in the beginning. Let's be honest, when you first meet somebody, you're not really meeting, they might be authentic and not put on a facade, but you're kind of still meeting a representative of them.
Yeah,
Like, everything doesn't come out right away.
of course not.
You're meeting the customer service version of them.
Right.
So, what it really comes down to for me is, discernment, where you start to, you have to pay attention. And I feel that's a big problem, that a lot of people ignore the red flags and the signs, and they just make excuses. Well, it wasn't a big deal, or maybe they were having a bad day, or this or that. Like, consistency is everything. And, especially if you're getting into a new relationship, as far as a romantic relationship, like if somebody, goes missing for a day or two, like you talk every day, then all of a sudden they're missing for a day or two, you can't get to them, it's just out of character. That's a red flag to me. And, that's something that people need to pay attention to. And like, just from my own experience, I've dealt with that for years, with past relationships, trying to meet somebody new, be inconsistencies. And I had just got to a point, once I changed my life around, where like I wasn't going to deal with that. Once I started seeing the red flags, I'm like, nope. And it was just my gut instinct. It was like,
Yeah, you
everything
already
was
know what
telling
it
me
is before it even happens.
yeah, so I would just say, all right, I'm gonna remove myself. But with my own relationship now, like with Angela, me and her have, and she would tell you, if she was here to tell you, she would tell you, we're going on 2 years. There's not been one day, even before we lived with each other, that we haven't talked. And if I was going somewhere and wasn't going to be available, or vice versa, we always communicated.
Right.
And
It's
and
communicated ahead
like,
of
I would
time.
tell her, like, hey babe, I'm going to be at such and such. So if I can't answer the phone, like, she knew. She never, and I knew. We never had to wonder where the other person was. There was never no inconsistencies, never any missed days, never, go off the grid or anything like that. And that's important. Like, consistency, especially in a romantic relationship, is everything. If you can't be consistent, that's a red flag. And, it's the discernment and, noticing that and being aware of that, and just being like, nah, this doesn't line up. You know what I mean? The math's not mathing, whatever way you want to say it. And, don't deal with that person. Because if that's happening early, excuse me, if that's happening in the first couple months, it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, cut your losses.
Clear,
Keep it pushing because
that's
it's not
the
even going to
clear
get worse.
indicator. But I feel that people just ignore those things because, again, going back to what we were saying, excuse me, they're lonely and they want somebody, and they just make excuses for certain things because they want just to work so bad that they find every excuse under the sun to ignore the red flags and, the warning signs. And then on another note, something that I wanted to bring up is, I feel like, and I said this before in past episodes, I feel like most of these relationships are just based off of physical. And like, let's be honest, like, physical fades. It's great. Like, of course, with most, romantic relationships, physical attraction is usually the first thing.
Yeah,
You don't want to be with somebody you're not attracted to, obviously. So I get that part, but like, that's just such a small part of it,
yeah.
where
It can't
that stuff,
exclusively just be that.
yeah, that stuff fades. Like, just say, like, for yourself, your early 30s, if you meet somebody now that's gorgeous, like, if y'all are still together in your 70s, she's not going to look anything like that, her face or body, and neither are you. So
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
the beauty part fades. And, it's really about the person's character, their
Yeah, it's
morals,
about morals and values, character. Like that shit'll last a lifetime.
loyalty, all
That
those
doesn't
things.
fade at all. It's inner
And I
beauty in tandem with the outside beauty. That's
absolutely.
100%.
And I just feel like, a lot of these relationships, and, probably more than not, are just based off of physical, like, oh, I'm attracted to them. They're sexy, especially for men, especially in this new era, like, oh, she's got a fat ass, she's got this, and they're only with them for that. And it's like, if that's what your relationship is based off of, that shit is doomed. It is destined to fail. There's just no way around it.
Well, it's so
Because again, it's
surface
never going
level.
to fade, and
It's
there's always
yeah.
going to be somebody. You could be the hottest woman in the world, the most handsome man in the world, in the best shape, have the best body, whether man or woman, and there's always going to be somebody that looks better.
Yeah, I
So
mean, look, I
it's,
say this, I say two things, right? Especially having a sales background. Number one, you listen to people like talk long enough, they always going to tell on themselves. So you want to talk
yeah,
about red flags before you just got to listen. You got two ears and one mouth for a reason. You should listen twice as much as you speak. So that's
absolutely.
the first thing. The second thing is, like you said, having the discernment, but that's easier said than done. Like, especially from a man's perspective, it doesn't really do him any justice if he doesn't have a certain level of experience. And I feel like it doesn't do a woman any justice if she doesn't, know what she's looking for specifically. I mean, you could really say the same thing for both genders, but I feel like, there needs to be an alignment to some extent for everybody involved. You got to know what you want and you got to fucking talk the talk. If you're not even worthy of the relationship that you're looking for, how the fuck are you going to be like, oh, well, I want this person to do this for me.
Yeah.
And it's an energetic thing too. Like as a man, I'm big with being able to serve. How can I serve the people around me, my family, my friends? How can I be an asset to them? And if you're fucking with people that aren't thinking the same way towards you, they just don't belong. I can tell you that right now. Everyone
I,
wants to everyone wants
I
to
agree
take.
with you.
What can this person do for me? Oh, I'm gonna take that. Everyone's a taker now. How do you show up and serve the people that you claim you care about? That's kind of my philosophy now that I'm a little bit older, but I mean it's easier said than done. And it's not coming from a place of just being genuine either.
Well, it's funny that you said that about the giver taker thing because I just saw a reel. I think I just shared it on my social media story like in the last couple of days. And the guy says, a giver and a taker, it's toxic. A taker and a taker, none of them are ever going to work. You need a giver and a giver for a real relationship to blossom. You both have to want to pour into each other. And that's really what it comes down to. Like if you
Yeah.
have one that's a giver and one that's a taker, it might work for a little while, but eventually it's not going to work because one person's just going to take, 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 take. Like you said, what can they get out of it? And it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the physical. If one person's a taker, and that person, is focused solely on physical looks and
Mhm.
body type and all. Eventually, when your body and your looks no longer serves him and he can't take from that because that's what his source is of the relationship, that's his I guess his, why he's in it. Once your looks and your body fades, now he wants somebody else that he could take that from.
Right,
So,
exactly.
it's never going to work. So yeah, exactly. You have to have a giver and a giver. Absolutely.
Nah, I mean that's just real shit at the end of the day. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's a perfect segue into, really, being qualified for the relationship that you want. And I know this is a crazy one because, if it comes down to it, a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, I'm qualified, like 100%. Let's be real. The majority of people are nowhere near qualified for what they're looking for. Like they have this inflated ego, and it goes both ways, men and women. They have this inflated ego where they think they're fucking the best thing since sliced bread, and they want this, fucking superstar of a partner, when in reality they can't even show up for themselves half the time. The standards are just way blown out of proportion, and it cracks me up. It makes me laugh because
Yeah,
it's
they have
insane.
this
Like it doesn't even make sense.
a lot of people have this grandiose version of themselves that, they believe that, they're this bigger than life this bigger
Yeah,
than life,
no,
like this aura. But again, how many people like what are you really in the relationship with? And real quick, like what you were saying, show you how do you show up? What version of you shows up? Like a lot of people, I was touching on like the financial, the mental, the emotional. Like a lot of people might check the boxes of the financial, might have a great job, might have a great home or apartment, might have a great car, money in the bank. So they show up financially, but do they show up mentally? And have they worked on themselves and healed from past relationships, or are they going to bring that baggage right into the relationship? Or on the flip side, maybe you've worked on yourself and you show up emotionally and mentally, as a great version, but maybe you don't show up financially. And it's like it's kind of like a balance. Like you have to kind of, I feel, to really like nowadays, like look at how expensive things is. Like you have to have the financial side somewhat. Like nobody's saying you have to make, a certain amount a year. Well, some people are, but from a realistic standpoint,
Those are the
from a
people we're
realistic
talking about. Like,
standpoint,
hey, yeah,
yeah,
finances are
from a
very important.
realistic standpoint, you got to show up with something. You got to bring something to
Right.
the table. But, you know, do you check all those boxes across the board? Do you show up with something tangible, like, financially? Do you show up emotionally the right way? Do you show up mentally? Are you bringing, the baggage from other toxic relationships and past relationships? And have you worked on things within yourself, whether they be childhood traumas or whatever? And your whole mindset, like, what do you want out of life? How do you view life? So there's a lot of factors that go into it. So, but yeah, exactly. Most people aren't qualified to be in a relationship. And again, talking about a few years ago, I wasn't ready. I wanted it and thought that I deserved it, but and it's crazy because God will sit you down sometimes and show you, by not giving you something that hey, it wasn't right. It wasn't right
Yeah.
for you. And it taught me that, like I said it in past episodes, I have stayed, well, not now, obviously, but when I was on talking about that time, when I was lonely and wanted that, I went over 2 years single and celibate, like no sex at all, no relationships. I talked to a few people and tried, but again, the discernment was there where I was like, no, this isn't right. This isn't
Yeah.
what I want. And had offers of, quick sex or whatever. And I was like, nah, it's not what I'm looking for. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
I
Because you know
want
it
it
was either going to
better.
set you back or, it's just another distraction getting involved and getting in the way of your self development.
Yeah, and it all worked out because now it's so crazy that we just had this conversation today, and I was telling her that I appreciate her because, and I told her literally like 7 o'clock this morning. I said, "You have taught me so many things in a relationship, like things I thought I knew about a woman
Mm.
that I really didn't know about, like how to be." Well, I always kind of knew how to be soft myself, but how to allow her to be soft,
Mm.
especially a woman like, like mine that was in survival mode her whole life. She was forced to be, never had a proper relationship. She was forced to, be a working woman, pay the bills, provide, and still show up for the kids and just all these hats she had to wear where she's been in survival mode, has had to be a man and a woman, play both roles the whole time. So, she's teaching me how to allow her to be soft and come into her softer era. And, for the most part, I do that. But she's still teaching me. There's still stuff that I'm learning of how to do that and how like certain like little buttons I might push and things that say and not say and there's just a lot of little things and she's taught me so much about relationships and again I've taught her certain things because she's never had a man like she'll tell you if she was here she doesn't open doors like literally even if we drive somewhere I get out I turn the car off I walk around I open the door I close the door when we get back in the car I open the door for her we
Yeah.
go in
I mean,
anywhere I
look,
open the door for
you
her
should,
like but
that's
she's never
everything.
had that.
If you're with somebody like that, that's something small, just a little gesture of appreciation. Like, hey, babe, I got you. Little door. I'm gonna open it. That's it.
But my point is this. My point is she's never had that. She's been the man and where the
Oh,
the
yeah.
man had, the woman had. She's never had somebody to treat her that way. So at first she didn't even know how to deal with it and how to accept it. And she might have liked it, but it was so new for her that it was just like she didn't even know
How do
how
I
to
deal
like
with
deal.
this? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like I've taught her like it's okay to like be loved properly because she's never done it. And like that's what it gets to, like where you're in the whole goal again should be you go into this union like we all have flaws, we've all been through things, we've all had trauma and toxic relationships. Like is to come into this thing like, hey, I care about you, I love you, I want to make you a better version, help you become a better version of yourself, and you want me to become a better version of myself so that the collective is beautiful. And that's the problem. Like I was saying, you go back, like a lot of this shit is based off of physical and just based off of the wrong ideals. So the shit is doomed from the start.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just brainwashing too, especially the shit you see on social media. Because it's like, I was looking at a reel or some shit. It was like some fucking dude who showed up on my feed and it was like some red pill shit. It was like, yeah, don't show me that shit. And it was like a dude basically just bashing fucking women the entire time. I'm like, I don't want to see this shit on my timeline. But it was crazy because even though it was like some toxic shit, he did bring up a good point in terms of, you know, how brainwashed people are. It's like you can't even express, that you like somebody anymore because the majority of people, if they're weak minded, they're going to be like, oh, well, he's fucking over pursuing or, oh, he seems desperate. And again, it could go both ways, but like, it's just fucking constant mind games too. Like back in the day, I feel like you could attest to this, Pop. Like if you like somebody, you would show it through your actions. Very plain and simple. Now, if that other person deems you're doing too much, it's going to come across as desperate, even though you're just showing them that you like them. Like
Yeah,
I'm an old soul too. For me, that don't even fucking register. Like, if I'm doing shit for you and we're together and this is a good thing, like of course I'm gonna show that, through whether it's gift giving, just act of service, whatever it is. Like very straightforward. But I just don't understand the level of thinking at all.
well, again, it's, I say it all the time. The world is backwards. Like what used to be
Yeah.
cool is now corny. What used to be corny is now cool. And, again, like being direct with somebody is now corny when that's what we should all be is be direct, communicate, all that. And it's just crazy because the world is just so ass backwards. And it's funny that you said about the woman bashing because I see that all the time, and it's really
Yeah.
crazy. Like,
It's
and
fucked up.
especially, but on both sides. Let me just paint a picture for you here. Right now, you see a lot of that. You see men bashing women, and all they do is just throw women under the bus, and women are this, women are that, right? But a lot of it is like these same men, you're not showing up as a real man that knows how to lead and allow this woman to bring out her feminine side and blossom in her womanhood, but yet you're bashing her when we're showing half of these men are showing up and don't even bring nothing to the table. You bring, again, no financial support. These women are now, how many women are the breadwinner? And it's so funny because me and Angela had a talk about this recently, and again, how she teaches me things all the time. She said, and she showed me this reel. And basically, in the reel, what they were saying is this: like, just imagine being a woman. And as a man, we say, oh, we can imagine, but really, you can't. Imagine going out every day, right? And you go out into a world where your validation and the way they perceive you is based more off of your looks and your body type than it is about your education, about what type of person, what kind of content of your character, right? That's number one.
Hmm.
Then everywhere you go, guys are gawking at you, trying to hit on you, this and that. Then you have to constantly be on guard because you got all these damn
For some
predator
fucking
men out
weirdos.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You got all
No.
these predator men out here. Then you got to go and become the breadwinner, which most women are nowadays. Become the breadwinner, pay the bills, come home, take care of the kids, and then still show up for the man that's sitting in your house doing nothing, playing a damn video game all day. Just imagine how exhausting that is for a woman. And she showed me that reel and we talked about it. And it was like, damn, I never thought about that. Like everywhere they go, that's the first thing a man does, especially if it's an attractive woman. He doesn't say, like, hey, she's an educated woman, like a really great person. They don't talk about her character. They don't talk about her education. They talk about, like, damn, she's gorgeous. Oh, damn, look at her ass. Like, these are the things that men, they're basically objectified all day. And then you want her to go provide for the house and make the money and then have to be on guard all day over all these damn predators that only want one thing from
Yeah.
her,
I
and then come
mean,
home,
they're on
take care of
fucking
the kids,
overload.
and then still show up for everybody. Like that's crazy.
100%. And
And
I'm not
like
going
we
to
don't
sit
even
here.
realize what they go through on a regular basis, and it's just wild to me. And she, like I said, she teaches me stuff all the time, and like I had never looked at it from that perspective, and I was like, wow. So
Yeah.
like the women that are out here, like men bashing women and being like, I want a woman to be this, show up for them the right way, show up and lead, be a man, provide something not only financially but provide stability, provide safety, provide come heal, healing at least, and done some work on yourself and show up as the best version of yourself, and then maybe these women can be softer and be what you want them to be. But it requires us
Mhm.
showing up as the best version of ourselves too. Now, with all that being said, on the flip side, you got women out here who putting out these demands like, this is what I expect in a relationship. I want my rent paid, I want my car note paid, I want my hair done, I want like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah,
Like, what do you
they're
bring to
they're
the
just
table?
as delusional, and the delusion goes on both ends. But I'm gonna say something real critical right now. You know what it is? This ain't the fucking 40s and 50s and 60s where if you were a dude, you were just entitled to a chick basically because they couldn't own a crib, they couldn't own a house, they didn't even fucking have a bank account. Like you were essentially just, hey, you meet a woman, you like her, you marry her, you have kids, you start a family, that was it. Like you didn't have to really be
Work
anything
for it.
greater than
You
what
don't
you
have to
already
work for
were as a man. Now in today's like day and age, you have to be fucking just full stacked. You got to have it all. And if you're just
it.
mediocre, well, really, you're just entitled to a mediocre person. And that's
Yeah.
fine. That works for a lot of people. Like, there's nothing wrong with that inherently. There are plenty of
And
normal
look,
people, I feel like, that have good relationships, solid relationships, and they're comfortable where they're at. This isn't a shot at anybody or anything like that. But now, if you want, I'm talking that dream person, and you just want to like go for it, you got to be full stacked, especially as a dude. Finances, spirituality, mentally. You got to do the healing, like you were saying, the trauma. You got to fucking actually have some personality. Maybe be funny. You know what I'm saying? You have to have it all.
well, real quick, I agree with you and disagree with you. And here's what I'll say.
But
I agree with you 100%. Like, we got to show up as the best versions of ourselves. But I disagree because if, you find the right woman, a woman worth having, you don't have to show up with you have to show up with those minimum requirements, of course,
yeah,
like where you have something to bring it to, but you don't have to have it all. You don't have to, if you meet the right woman, you don't have to be, have a six-figure, seven-figure income. You don't have to be, perfect Adonis body. You don't have to be, the brightest guy. But if you show up in all those areas where you bring something to the table financially,
right.
you're attentive, and you respect her, and you've worked on yourself where you are emotionally mature, you're mentally mature, any real woman will be okay with that. Like, you don't have to have everything. So again, it's not like I'm really disagreeing with you, but you don't have to have it
I know
all,
what you're saying.
but you have to
Right.
have a minimum requirement.
And that's kind
And
of what I mean. Like,
yeah,
to fucking, be fully stacked. No one's fully stacked in every area possible. It's just
exactly.
it's not a fucking video game. It's real life. Like
Yeah,
I don't think there's any person that checks every single fucking box, whether you're a man or female. Like, oh my God, the best personality I've ever seen. Oh my God, they got all these millions.
yeah,
They're in the best shape physically possible, like 0% fucking body fat. And it just doesn't fucking happen. Now, are there people that check a majority of the boxes and are very successful? Absolutely. But
yeah.
that's kind of what I mean by full stack. Like, you don't have to be this fucking video game character that, shouldn't really exist in reality. But, I see what you're saying. Like, you definitely have to dabble in a little bit of everything and at least
Yeah,
be a
you just
valuable
gotta have
person.
certain requirement, like
Right.
minimum requirements, Now, again, there's like a Mendoza line, as they would say, like, you gotta be at least this
Right.
or better. You can't be down here. And then as for the woman, any woman that's lining up with a list, I need my hair done, I need my rent paid, my car paid, that woman, I don't
Nah.
care how good she looks, is nothing but problems. It's not worth having because that woman is shallow. She's only cared about, material. That's the type of woman right there
She's
that
a
you
taker.
could be a
What can
millionaire.
you do for me? What can I
Yeah,
take from you? And
that's a
we were just
taker.
talking
Like
about
you were
that.
saying, that's a taker. You could show
Mhm.
up as a millionaire and look like an Adonis and this and that, right? And guess what? As soon as the next man comes that's got more than you, she's going to jump right to him. A woman like that has
Yep.
not worked on herself, is traumatized, and has all these expectations. It should be like this. You know what? I need my rent paid. I need this done. I need that done. What can we do together to make all those things
Yeah, and
happen?
actually
That's how a
build something that's
relationship
meaningful.
works. When a woman comes with all that checklist, that woman got issues. She got
Hmm.
trauma from her past, whether it be childhood, past relationships, thinks she's the prize. And that's the type of woman that's going to jump ship as soon as she sees better options, period. So I can't stand when I see that shit. That is just ridiculous to me.
Men be saying the same shit too. Like, oh, I'm the prize. That's more on that red pill shit. And I don't even subscribe to that. Like, first off, y'all should both be the prize. If it's fucking meaningful and yous are genuine good people, the characters there, the morals are there, y'all both lucked out. Like, y'all both got lucky.
Absolutely.
It's not like, oh, one person is the trophy wife or one person's the trophy husband. Like, we get so caught up in this, optics thing, like how it looks to other people. I don't give a fuck what other people think about me or my relationship. If I'm happy, that's all that matters to me. And
Absolutely.
obviously the other person's happiness, like you got to choose that person every fucking day, and they should
Well, that's
choose you
where,
every day. And
absolutely.
ideally, it can be a lifelong thing. You guys are married, have kids. Like, my ideas and philosophy is more traditional and old school. But a lot of guys will say they want that and do the complete opposite. They don't provide, kind of like what we've been saying. And it's not just the financial providing. It's, are you emotionally present? Can you actually engage in certain conversations? Is the communication there? Are you good with the kids? Are you a good dad? Like, it's just a lot of different things. But no, I
Yeah.
agree with pretty much everything we were talking.
I agree with you 100%. And let me just tell you a little story from my life. And you know a lot of this, but other people may not. Anyway, I'm not trying to paint the perfect picture of my relationship because, it's far from perfect. Like, she gets mad at me all the time over silly shit. I get mad at her
Yeah,
over stuff, but
right.
neither one of us cheat. We don't do any move weird. We don't do any of that goofy stuff. But we've had different issues, and a lot of it, like with me, as you know, I switched shifts and I was on third shift for like 2 months, and it really messed with me. Like my
Mm.
sleep, I was all over the place. I was irritable, and she noticed it. Like I did it so that we could have more time together because of her schedule. And yeah, we had more time, but it wasn't the right kind of time. So then, we decided because she saw the signs in me and I was like, and went into a little depression and all this stuff. And I felt it, but because she's my partner and she's observant, she pointed out to me, like, you need to go back to second shift. She's like, I miss you. And like I really had to do some internal work, internal self, search within myself, and like say, like she's absolutely right. Like I've been inconsistent, I've been all over the place, calling out of work, just a mess, like mentally. And even though I don't start until this upcoming week, like just knowing it was coming, like I've been in such a great place the last 2 weeks,
Right.
and I noticed how our relationship has rebounded. And on the flip side of that, I noticed with her that she was like in a kind of a depression and just kind of like would come home from work. She works every day and come home and just like not have the motivation to do anything, just go lay in the bed and watch TV. And like I kept telling her, like, I want you to be more active and I want you to become the best version of yourself, just like you want for me. And it's crazy because I had told you earlier, just in the last week and a half, she went out, she got a personal trainer, ordered all this stuff. Like she's like gung ho now. Like everything's the gym. She got all this
That's
workout
dope.
stuff. And I just see such a better version of her. Like she's instead of laying in the bed, she wants to work out. Today, she's up early in the morning. I mean, I was up super early to pray and stuff like that, but she's up super early. She's got the music blasting. She's dancing. She's singing. She's eating healthy, like everything now. She's like, oh, I can't eat that, this and that. Like everything's on a workout. And I noticed that just my shift, because we're men, we're supposed to lead. They feed off our energy. So once I started to shift and I'm trying to motivate her to be positive,
Then you seen
she's
her
feeding off
shift.
my energy.
Yeah.
And now she's just off and running with this workout stuff. Everything's the gym, my trainer, eating right, this and that. And I love
Oh
it
yeah.
for her because, we're helping each other. But like a month ago, we were in a fucked up place, pardon my French. Like, again, nobody cheating, nobody hitting each other, like none of that type of stuff, but just
Yeah,
like,
but the energy was probably lower because you were
yeah,
dealing
just
with shit on third
button
shift and just
button heads, both kind of depressed. Like, we had more time physically in front of each other, but it wasn't quality
you
time.
weren't mentally.
And
And that was the
yeah,
next thing I was gonna say.
it
Yeah.
just our frequencies were off. And it's like now, once we knew I was going back, it's like everything has shifted. The weather has shifted. Like now she's like on this mission, like I said, like if
Like,
you were in my
let's get
house, you would
after it.
realize like that's all she talks about is like the gym and eating healthy and this and that. And I love that for her. And now she was talking about like possible down the road, like career changes and things that she wants to do and aspirations. And we always talk about that. But like now we're motivating each other to be better. And then watching her with the trainer and stuff like that, I went and ordered some new supplements and I'm trying to go into like a new routine next week. And, with the weather changing, it's just like everything has shifted for the better. But it comes down to us like leading properly, and they're feeding off our energy. And if we have the right energy and bring the right energy to the relationship, and we pour into them, they're going to pour back into us 10 times. And it's just amazing the shift that has happened. And again, like I said earlier, she's constantly teaching me things about a relationship and how to be the right type of man. And we're constantly learning from each other, and that's the whole point of this, that you need to be with the right person, not based off of physical. Like, she's a beautiful woman, but it's not about that. That the
That's
initial
just a
attraction is there.
bonus. Yeah.
Yeah,
That gets
exactly.
your foot in the door of physical attraction. Everything else,
Yeah,
like you got to build on
but like I said, like I'm becoming, and I've been on the journey, but like meeting her has kicked it into overdrive. And even lately, I noticed like
that. Oh yeah.
we're helping each other just constantly become better, and that's the whole point, is to make each other better so that the union becomes, the best possible union.
Well, that's the thing too. And, this isn't a shot at women in general, but I feel like women hear the term lead as a man and they think automatically that they're subservient to their man or, it's like a power dynamic thing. First off, if he's a man of God and he's got his shit right, and, I know obviously you're Muslim, Allah, Jesus, God, whatever you want to classify it as, that's fine. But if you're in tune with your faith as a man, if you put your trust in him, he essentially works through you and she can trust that you are aligned properly in terms of leadership. It's not about a domination thing, and I feel like a lot of women get it twisted. They hear, oh well, he's not going to lead me, like thinking that it's a control thing or a domination. First off, it's a subtle leadership. It's not about domination or, you know oh, that's my woman, I'm gonna take claim kind of thing. Like, it's not even about that. Like, if he's in tune with his faith and he at least has aspirations and he's making the right moves, the leadership is very subtle. She just, essentially, matches with whatever frequency he's on, just like we were talking about. So that's something for the women out there too. It now again, this is assuming this only applies to what I'm saying if the dude is actually genuine and he's authentic and he's telling you what it is and he actually has some sort of faith. For the majority of men, I can't really speak for because they're not me and I'm not them. But I felt like that was important to address too because it's not about a power dynamic thing. It's about alignment and making sure that person's good for you, like we've been talking about.
Well, as to that, real quick, it's not about a dominant thing, but women naturally want to submit to their man if the man leads properly, like you said. And it's so funny that you just said what you said about the whole faith thing, because I had posted it on social media this week. I don't know if you had saw it, but as I said, I've been all over the place recently, and like I pray every day for the most part. I follow all the principles of Islam, but I do fall short with certain things. I might skip a prayer here or make an excuse there or whatever. And it's so crazy because Angela is not Muslim. Now, seeing me pray and everything, and she had already like looked into it before we were together. But,
Yeah.
it's something that she talked about possibly doing, right? And I told her in the beginning that, a lot of a lot of men that are Muslim force women into Islam, just because it's what they want and we're supposed to, be with. Like
Right.
We can marry a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, as a man, as a Muslim man. But, technically the ideal thing would be to be with a Muslim woman. But I told her, a lot of guys force women into that. And I didn't want that. I wanted her to do it for the right reasons, to do it for herself and not for
Right.
me. I don't want down the line that she resents me for something I forced her into. So I told her, like, I need it to be a decision that she makes for herself. So anyway, with that backstory, the funny thing is, like I said, I've been all over the place recently with the shift change and my mental. So I've kind of fell short with certain things and might skip a prayer. And just last weekend, we sat down and she was like, I want to talk to you about something. And she pointed out, she said to me, and this is crazy, as a non-Muslim woman, she said to me, how can you expect me, you know, if you're not basically what she said is if you're not leading me properly, how can I follow you? And like, if you're skipping a prayer
Facts.
here and you're doing this and that, she's like, how could you expect me to follow the right way if you're not setting the right example and not leading properly? And
Exactly.
I was, wow. And I was like, you know what? And then rather than get defensive, I sat there and thought for a minute. I said, you're absolutely right. So, as you know, I pray every day anyway. But again, I fall short in certain areas, even with Islam. And I had to do a little like internal, like take a look at myself and it's like, she's absolutely right. Like I need to show her if I want her to embrace that, I need to lead properly and set the right example for her so that she has an example to follow. And it really was like an aha moment for me. I was like, she's absolutely right. So, and the funniest thing
100%.
is, like I said, for a woman who's not Muslim to push me to take my faith to the next level and, abide by it 100% speaks volumes to me. And I was like, that's just amazing because it's not even something that, she's not a Muslim herself. So for her to push me and the whole point, like we're talking about, she wants better for me. It wasn't just about, leading her properly, but she wants to see me, as we call it, on our dean, on the religion, 100%, no shortcuts, things of that nature. And I think she's absolutely right. How can I show her the right example if I'm not doing it myself? It's like, here, do what I say, not as I do. And, we don't subscribe to that. So, I just thought that spoke volumes, and it's funny that you brought it up, and that just happened last Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not a coincidence either. I mean, that's like the foundation of it. But, as men, we got to bring the structure and set the standard for what the relationship's really going to be. Everything else falls into place if you got your mind and your faith right. And, assuming, you got a good job, you're taking care of yourself, like everything like that. It's all connected. And a lot of
And
people
and
aren't ready for that conversation because
and again,
it requires work.
it's not a dominance thing. It's women naturally want to submit if they have the right type of man that's living the right way and setting the right example and leading properly, they want to submit. That's
Exactly.
natural.
But then, some people are still traumatized. Well, oh, my last man did this and fucking, oh, this is what
Well,
I expect. But we don't even want to subscribe to a relationship like that anyway,
and
because
again, it
those are
goes
the
back
people
to
that
what
didn't put in the work with themselves.
exactly. That's what I was just ready to say. Like it goes
Yep.
back to what we were talking about earlier. Like you're not showing up as the right version to be able to be in that relationship anyway. So, somebody like that doesn't have any business being in a relationship if they're not ready. Like you haven't dealt with, your past relationship and,
Yep.
toxicity from that. So how are you ready to go into another one? And that's another thing we never even touched on. People, people rather than like if you're in a relationship with somebody, especially if it lasts, a significant amount of time, and then y'all break up or divorce,
Mhm.
like most people are jumping right back into it. You're not ready. You need time just to
I did,
process that
look,
and
I
deal
never
with
understood
that.
that either.
And so many people, it's just like they're afraid to be alone, and it's just such a rebound. Oh well, I'm out of this relationship, and in a week they're into that relationship. Like that is crazy. And I get it because I did it when I was younger and stuff too. But it's like you need time to process and heal and like take a look at yourself because again, we've talked about it many times before. Like, it's not always the other person. Sometimes it's you. And you got to be like, hey, like, I need to take a look at
Damn, yeah,
myself,
fucked up.
like the areas that
Hmm.
I screwed up in, even if it's not cheating and things like that. Like, what parts of the relationship do I need to take accountability for and, fix within myself before I jump into something else? But that seems to be like, people's go-to, because again, they just don't want to be lonely, and that's the immediate satisfaction thing, I guess. I don't know. I just, that
Well,
mentality
yeah,
makes
I
no
mean,
sense to me.
because the minute they're alone, they're faced with pretty much all their deficiencies. And
They,
instead of
they
dealing
have to
with
face
that, that's kind
themselves.
of what I mentioned before. Like, I'm guilty of it too. Like, I was pursuing different relationships, especially in the past couple of years. I'm like, I still got so much shit that I got to work on. Why the fuck, am I pursuing shit that I got no business pursuing right now?
Yeah, you're pursuing something that even if you get it, you can't keep it anyway. So it's
Exactly.
like,
And
yeah,
that's exactly that. That's said perfectly.
yeah. No, I completely agree. But yeah, it's just so wild when you look at it like now, thinking of, where I was at different times in my life and different relationships, like looking at it now, it's like, what the hell was I thinking? And
Yeah.
then
And I
even
mean,
even
especially
seeing
for
other
me.
people's relationships, I'll see people that are screaming at each other in public and stuff. Like,
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
just see,
listen, thank God I'm not in that shit. Because trust me, I
yeah,
did the toxicity shit. Like, fuck you. Oh, we're breaking up type shit. And
yeah,
I'm like, dude, I'm done with that. Like, I got so
and
much peace in my life right now. Like
absolutely,
that, I've done a lot of inventory over the past like 6, 7 months, and thought about it, a lot of different experiences that I've been through. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you almost gotta laugh
yeah.
because
Hindsight is 2020.
yeah, it's always 2020. And I'm like, damn, why the fuck did this happen? And, it's both positive and negative, but I've been doing a lot of self reflection on my experiences lately. And, just not even trying to grow. Like, I've grown drastically, especially within the past couple of years. A lot of
Yeah,
setbacks, a lot of good experiences too. But, you know, recently I've just been trying to take personal inventory and, you know, make sure that my trajectory for my life is on the right track and the self betterment, and really just trying to help people along the way. Not preaching so much because, no one likes a fucking preacher, but
yeah. I
um,
mean, we're not perfect, so
yeah, exactly. And it's funny too because there's this preacher. I'm gonna leave whoever's watching, I'm gonna leave y'all with this too. Like, especially with relationship roles and dynamics. Ironically enough, there's this preacher on Facebook that I follow. And he talks about gender roles and stuff like that. And I seen this recently too, that every role is a man's role. It's just up to the woman to assist him with whatever standard he sets for whatever he has going on. And I was like, damn, like that was kind of eye opening too, because we get caught up in, the gender roles. Oh, a woman should do this, a man should do that. Like, I don't think it's about that at all. It's about, again, being with the right person, making sure the alignment's there, making sure this can actually blossom into something, that's beautiful, where you guys are on the same page. But yeah, the gender roles, I'm not too big with that. Like, you're a man, you should be capable of fucking doing everything. And if you're leading properly, yes, she should be able to assist you accordingly, and you guys build together. Very simple.
yeah, I second that. Yeah, it's just crazy too, because I even see, like, whether it be at work or people I talk to, like, I see guys that, like, they're in a relationship, whether it be a great partner or not. Like, I don't know the whole dynamic, but like, they're in a relationship, but yet they're trying to, like, sleep with people outside of the relationship. I just don't get it. Like, we're not in, our 20s or teens anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what are we
Like, these are
doing?
grown men, like probably
Yeah,
30s, 40s,
exactly.
50s.
And
Yeah.
and women, like,
Mhm.
at that point when you're at a certain age, it's like, playtime's over. Like, what are we doing? Like, if you're that unhappy with your partner, then leave the relationship. And I just don't understand. Like you're just wasting time. Like, it's not who I want, but they're okay for now.
Yeah,
Like,
but I'm still stay with them and just hurt them
yeah,
anyway. I mean,
and just waste
hurt people,
waste
man.
time and hurt their feelings and manipulate them. And it's just a crazy mindset to have. I just don't
Look,
understand
I've
it.
had my fair share of that, and again, sometimes I was the fucking issue too. Um,
No,
but that's how
absolutely.
you learn. You got to go through shit.
Yeah, I mean, experience is the best teacher, of course. But I just feel like at a certain age, it's like, really got to take a look at yourself, like, you know, work on the things that, have you stuck. And then think about, as far as any relationship, whether it be romantic or friendship or whatever, like, is this something you really want for your life? Does it bring you joy? Is the reciprocation, do you guys, are you trying to help or pour into each other? And if not, what's the point?
I'm gonna set it better myself.
Yeah.
And on that note, pops, that's gonna wrap it up. Episode 9. That's crazy to think about. I mean, we started this
Yeah.
shit what,
And I
October?
just and I just wanted to apologize too, because like we just talked about, I've been going through, stuff with the shift change, and my mental's been off, so I haven't really brought the energy lately, and I've been all over the place. So I apologize to you. I apologize to any of our viewers, but I'm back. I'm back on my shift.
Look,
I'm in a great place. In my
that's
relationship,
all that
I'm in a great
matters.
place. I'm in a great place mentally within myself. Like, I mean, I'm blessed.
Look, what's
And
already known don't got to be said. I mean, I'm on this planet just like you and everybody else. Like we know how some days can get, and
yeah,
a lot of the times it spirals out of control without us even realizing it. So apology accepted. I'm not even worried about it. We're on some good energy moving forward. So
yeah,
I appreciate you saying that, Pops. Other than
yeah,
that, it's gonna wrap it up for episode 9. Crazy to even say that, but hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back
yeah,
next week with
absolutely.
another episode. And other than that, we appreciate y'all. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Peace. All right, kid.